Hi everyone, Reed Reviews here. So it has been a hell of a minute since I did a Survivor video. I kind of took a break from Survivor videos to focus on my mental health. But this season I'll be back to doing recaps, and I wanted to do a video on Survivor 50. I know we're a few seasons away from that, but Mike Bloom and Rob Has a Podcast did this whole Survivor voting thing on who the fans would want to come back for season 50, and they compiled, I guess, by popular demand, people from every season who could potentially be on this list and who we could vote for. So I wrote down my own list of girls and guys based off of the people he said, and I had a lot more people than he wanted, because he wants us to vote for 10 girls and 10 guys, and I put a lot more down, so I really had to narrow it down, because there is quite a few people who I think deserve to come back, whether they've played again or not. Personally, I think season 50 should be another second chance season, but it's season 50, it's momentous, so they're probably going to have people who played again before, legendary players. So I'm just gonna reveal who I think should, out of the guys and girls that I picked, who should play again and why, basically. I'm just gonna give a brief summary, or else we'll be here all day. So let's start with the guys. Out of the guys, my first pick to come back is Shane Powers. He was definitely entertaining during his season, and he was in the running to come back for Survivor Second Chance, but he didn't get asked back. And I know a lot of the fans, including myself, want to see Shane come back. I think like I said, his first season, he was a bit hot-headed, but he was a very entertaining character. So I would love to see Shane play again. I think it's been 20 years later. So it'll be interesting to see what he thinks of the new era of Survivor, because he is technically old school Survivor. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this one, but my second pick out of the guys would have to be Russell Hantz. Say what you want about Russell Hantz, but you can't deny the fact that he changed the game from his season on. I remember when Samoa first came on, and he found idols like that. He was the first person to find idols without a clue. And yeah, and people say he should have won his season. Personally, I'm one of those people, but after going back, you could kind of see different seasons why certain people won, why certain people lost, and I think nobody can argue that he played a great game his season, but I think it all came down to jury votes. I think all the strengths Russell had, one of his weaknesses was jury management, and sometimes that is all it takes. If you have people on that jury and you cross them the wrong way, or they don't like you, you're not going to win the game, and that jury did not like Russell. So yeah, I would love to see him come back again. I think he's a legendary player. This one, would love to see him come back again. Tony Vlachos. I mean, I have not met one Survivor fan that does not like Tony. He is the first guy to win twice. He is another character. He is amazing. He has a good personality, and he's always thinking. And each season he's been on, he's always changed his gameplay, and it'll be very interesting to see him come on again, see how he'll play this time, because he'll already have a target on his back because he's already won twice. So he might be they might want to try to get him out early, but at the same time, they might say, "Oh, Tony, what's your secret?" This one I'm gonna campaign hard to be on Survivor 50. Reed Kelly. San Juan del Sur is probably one of my least favorite seasons. I know a lot of Survivor fans would agree with me, But one of the highlights during that season was both Reed and Josh. And I will say I did pick both Reed and Josh to be on season 50. However, I had to choose between one of them when it came down to it. And Reed has more of a social media presence, and he has that. They're both great, but Reed has like I can't explain it. He has like such a great personality, and so does Josh. But I think what really did it for me was Reed's final tribal council speech. Sometimes I find myself going back to watch that, and I have to give him major credit for not being afraid to tell the truth. And I'm just going to talk about it briefly because I'll be here all day ranting about it. So Reed's final tribal council speech was basically calling Missy an evil queen, and was saying how in fairy tales the outcasts are the ones who, win in the end, and the evil queen doesn't. And that was coming from how he said Missy got so many gimmies that season. And one of the most controversial things in any Survivor season was Missy actually got injured pretty late in the game. And usually when somebody's injured like Missy, because she did have like a sprained ankle or sprained foot, they would pull her out of the game, no question, take x-rays. Well, she had the option and she stayed in. And she was basically carried to the end because she got to sit out of challenges. Whereas you have somebody, I don't remember which season it was, but like day one, they injured their finger. Not broke, sprained their finger, and they were sent home. So it's like, I would think somebody with like a hurt finger would be able to do more than Missy would have been able to. So I never understood that, and I appreciated Reed, calling her out on that. And the fact that I didn't learn this till after I saw that season, that he voted for Jacqueline, not because he thought she should win, but he didn't want Missy to get second place. I was like, my fifth pick would have to be Jay Starrett from Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. That is probably my favorite season of Survivor, and him and Adam were kind of like the yin yang during his season, and he was a great competitor. Like, he was very strategic. He was great in challenges. His downfall came to that one challenge when he forgot to put the curtain on his combination. It's been a while since I've seen the season, but he forgot to put the curtain over his combination thing he was doing, so people were looking at it. But yeah, I would love to see him come back again. I feel like it's been a long time coming. He and Adam, they were sometimes at odds, but they came to an understanding when both their moms had health problems, and even though they were still, obviously competing for the million, they had this like unspoken like understanding with each other, and it just was, I don't know, I just think Jay's a great guy, and I would love to see him come back. This guy, I guarantee you, probably 80% of the people will say he needs to come back. My sixth pick would have to be Devin Pinto. Devin was another one that was in a really great alliance, and had he made it to final three, I don't know if he would have won. He definitely would have gotten runner-up. But the reason why so many people want Devin back is because of how he was, how he exited the game. He was the first person to be out of the game through forced fire. His season is when they started to do that final fire making at 4, and he lost to Ben. And they were set in stone. It was gonna be Chrissy, Ryan, and Devin. I would have loved that final 3. I wouldn't have cared who won that season. But a lot of people say Devin was screwed out of going in the final 3 that season. I'm one of those people. But yeah, I think he definitely deserves to come back after that horrible thing. That horrible fire making challenge. So he definitely deserves to come back again. My 7th pick would have to be Dominic Abate. I loved him and Wendell. They were a power duo, and his season was. I know a lot of people didn't like Ghost Island. I liked Ghost Island for the nostalgia factor. Like anytime they found an idol, they played flashbacks to previous seasons. But with Dominic, his season is legendary because that was the first tie in Survivor history. So that alone, I think Dominic should come back again, but he was also a very good player. He was very strategic. He was obviously loyal to his alliance, to Wendell at the end. And they had this understanding that they're in this alliance, yes, but there was going to be a time when they had to break that alliance because they're both ultimately competing for the same thing. So they had this understanding that at some point they're going to have to turn against each other, and there's no hard feelings. And it's like, when have you ever seen that in a game of Survivor? So yeah, Dominic, I definitely think should come back. Eighth pick would have to be, and I'm going to say his last name wrong, but Christian Hubaki from David versus Goliath. He was super strategic. Like when he played, he was giving me some major Cochran vibes, and he was a threat just because his mind, he was like, I would consider him like a student of the game Survivor. Like he knew how to play, but he was just an obvious threat in a sense that he was so strategic. Everybody saw it, everybody knew it, so people wanted him out. But he just had a really good personality too. Like he was genuine, and he was kind of an underdog at some points. I remember like during one challenge, he didn't think he could do it, and they were encouraging him to, and he actually won it for them, and that was huge. So he was an underdog, but then he was also a threat. So yeah, I would love to see Christian come back. My ninth pick would have to be Ricard for it. That's probably one of my, I think I only picked 2 guys out of the new era, but Ricard, I definitely think he was another strategic threat, and I love how Ricard could spot bullshit, a mile away. Like he was very self-aware and was able to tell if somebody was true, genuine, lying, backstabbing, and everything. So I would love to see Ricard come back again. My last pick for the guys for season 50 would have to be Jesse Lopez. He's another one that I think people are just going to campaign for him to get on this list because he was set to win that season. That whole jury, there's only been a handful of seasons of Survivor when the winner was chosen by unanimous vote, and I think Jesse would have been a unanimous vote. Like when he got sent to fire, which ultimately, for the other people that were in the other two, basically who chose Jesse to go to fire, I think was the right move. However, from a fan's perspective, it's like, oh God, what if he loses? And he did. And Jesse was actually crying. I'm like, oh my God, like we all felt that. So and Jesse was great. Like everybody liked Jesse. Like nobody had any like hard feelings toward him. He was strategic. He was great. He had a great alliance. And yeah, everybody would love to see Jesse come back. And just to be clear, like the list is not in like a set order. Like it's not, oh, I want this person to come back to most. No, I just compiled a list and, So now let's move on to the girls. So first pick, and when I say first pick, it doesn't necessarily mean that's who I want to come back the most. First pick for the girls would have to be Tina Wesson. I picked her mostly because, she's the first female winner, and I think Tina is underestimated. People might look at Tina and think, oh, she's an older castaway, the stereotype we know when older castaways come on, they think, oh, she can't play, or oh, she's so weak in challenges. But Tina's actually a beast out there, and I think she's a force to be reckoned with. So I would definitely love to see Tina come back again, and that's actually one of my first Survivor memories is Tina beating Colby. So yeah, I would love for Tina to come back. Second pick would have to be T-Bird. A lot of people wanted her to come back for second chance. I was one of those people. And T-Bird has, you know, such a great personality. She's so nice and genuine, and she competed in what, in Jeff Probst's words, one of the toughest seasons of Survivor Africa. So I know a lot of the fans would love to see T-Bird come back again. So now, what was quite interesting about the next list is that it skipped how many seasons? Like, I went from like season 4 to like, I think season 30 of Survivor. So there's a huge gap there. It's a little bit out of order, but I'll try the best I can. Again, I'm not trying to go in a particular order, but my next pick would have to be, and this is one I know is going to be on this list for sure, Chrissy Hoffbeck. Every single Survivor fan will tell you she was robbed that season. Everybody wanted her to win the whole season. She was just amazing. Again, she was another one that had a great alliance. She played really good. She played very strategic. She was kind of like the mom out there, but she was great in challenges. Is like all around what you would want in a winner of Survivor. Everybody, you know, wanted her to win, and then they implemented the final fire making challenge, and I think that's part of the reason why she lost. The other reason I think why things went the way they did is because they knew Ben was an idol hog, and they knew he went out there to go and look, and instead of, you know, having somebody keep an eye on him at all times, they went to sleep. So when they went to sleep and he found an idol, I'm like, well, he just got the win. So I guarantee you she's going to be one of those people that are going to be on that list regardless, because a lot of people think she was robbed, and a lot of people think she deserves another chance. This one's going to be interesting, and I'll say why. Alicia Holden from Survivor Ko Wrong. So during her season, and I'll be the first to admit, I was 100% wrong about Alicia. When I first saw Ko Wrong, I thought she was annoying, and I thought, oh, she's the reason why they're losing. And during my Survivor videos, I don't sugarcoat anything. Like, I'm brutally honest and everything, and I was pretty brutal with her. And I can admit that I was 100% wrong about her, and I am so sorry that my first impressions were totally off. Alicia was bullied during her season, and she wasn't really given a chance. There was 2 bullies on her tribe, and you saw it. They took the camp's tools just out of spite. And, you know, sometimes people are happy to see certain castaways go, and they were just like openly like trying to get her out. Like, I think at one point they were talking about throwing a challenge just so they can get her out, and that's just so cruel. So I definitely think Alicia deserves a second chance to come back. I would love for Alicia to come back again. This one I know is going to be another one that people are going to want to come back on. Mama C from Worlds Apart. She was another one that didn't take crap from anyone. She was great. She was the runner-up that season, and a lot of people thought she was set to come back for Survivor's Second Chance, and she didn't get chosen. And the reason why I think she didn't get chosen is because I think so many people thought she was going to win that season that people said, well, she's not going to need to be on Second Chance if she wins. So I think that's why ultimately she wasn't on Second Chance season. But good in challenges. She found idols. She had a very good idol move during her season. And yeah, she's a great person. I would love to see Mama C come back and play again. This one's also another good one. Angelina Keeley from Survivor David versus Goliath. A lot of people love David versus Goliath. I love that season. That was probably one of my favorite seasons since Millennials versus Gen X. And I know sometimes people thought Angelina was annoying, but I think like as the season went on, people started to, she started to grow on people, and she was just so funny. Like I'll never forget when she said, "Natalie, can I have your jacket?" And she wasn't afraid to make those moves, and I respect that. Like some of her moves maybe didn't follow through the way she wanted, but I have to respect the fact that she wasn't afraid to make those moves in the first place. And I definitely think she should have won that season. Now, looking back, I think a lot of people agree with that. So we have 4 more left in the girls. My 7th pick would have to be Janet Carbon from Survivor Island of the Idols. That season was probably the worst season in Survivor history. Not going to get into that. But Janet herself is a very good person. Like when everything went down, she was trying to be very protective of her girls and everything on her tribe, and she was definitely very motherly, but she was also a true fan of the game. And people ultimately lied about what was going on to try to make Janet look bad and make her like look like she's lying. I thought that was horrible. I definitely think Janet could have won that season. Ultimately, why she was voted out was simply because she knew how to make fire, and now that forced fire is now an element of the game, when it comes down to it, if you know how to make fire, that's now going to be considered a threat now, where it used to be essential. If you know how to make fire, it's like, oh, by all means make fire. Now nobody wants to make fire, because if they see that you can make fire, they're going to assume you can make fire at the final tribal council. And even when she got voted out, I don't remember who said it, but on the jury, somebody said it to Kelly. It all came down to fire. Nobody wanted to go against her. And I'm like, that was 100% accurate. This one, I'm personally going to campaign hard for to win, because I loved this one during the season. This is the first season of the new era, and I apologize if I say your last name wrong, but Tiffany Seeley. I love her. I am a sucker for the older castaways. In real life, I tend to get along with people that are older than me, and rightfully so, because people that are older tend to be more sympathetic and open to other people that are different. And Tiffany was in a very good spot her season. She was in a really tight alliance until things fell apart like that. But Tiffany was part of one of the biggest moves I personally have ever seen in Survivor, and I will talk about it briefly, because like I said, I could talk about Survivor all day. Basically, there was this advantage out there that you can say to somebody, do you have an idol or do you have an advantage? If you ask said person, do they have an idol? And they have an idol, they have to give it to you. So people, and this isn't something I don't understand, a lot of people, fans don't understand, sometimes when people get an idol, they're like, look at me, I've got an idol, or look at me, I've got an advantage. Not literally, but you get what I mean. So they knew that Xander had an idol, but Xander, Evie, and Tiffany came up with a brilliant move, because they knew Xander had an idol, so they came up with the move to give it to Evie. But then they thought, oh, they're like all in alliance together, so what happens if they ask Evie? They decided to give it to Tiffany, because it was known that Evie and Tiffany were in alliance. At least that's what I got. But from the tribe's perspective, they didn't know the 3 of them were working together. So when, I don't even remember her name at this point, because it's just been so long, and I did not like her personally as a player. But when she said, Xander, do you have an idol? No, but you could have this fake one. I was like, oh, snap. I was like, this is fucking Survivor gold here. And you see the flashback, how they go and make a fake idol. Brilliant move, because obviously that looked good enough to fool somebody. So kudos to them. So Xander made the fake idol, and then they had the... Well, I think they all made the fake idol, because they also did talk about this later, how this was originally Tiffany's idea, but Xander took the credit for it, as most guys do when girls come up with moves and everything during the game. But they all were a part of that move, and I thought it was brilliant. And Tiffany has this great personality. You know, she's super loyal. Like, she was loyal to Evie the whole time. I think had she not been voted off in the first juror, I definitely think she would have gotten really far in the game. So I would love to see her come back again. She's one of my favorite people. So ninth person, and I think this is another person that I don't know if a lot of people are going to campaign for, but they're definitely going to agree with Carla Cody Cruz. She was another person, she was on Jesse's season, who I think was the first person to beat a challenge. Her and Owen beat that challenge when they're underwater, and it basically tests how well you're able to handle anxiety, and they're like kind of in this cage and they're below it and the tides come in, and they beat the challenge. So I'm like, wow. And she was another person that was in a good alliance, was in a good spot, but she was a threat, partly because of that, but then also she was strategic and was always thinking like 2 steps ahead. And I thought it was a great girl. You know, I would definitely love to see her come back again. This last person here, I think the same as I thought about, who was it, Chrissy Hoffbeck. I feel like this last one is going to be on the list for sure. Carolyn Weiger, she is one of those Survivor castaways that a lot of people related to. She's, again, I feel like a broken record, but she was in a very good 3-person alliance with Carson and Jam Jam. And she was kind of like the mom figure to Carson, but she was also another person I was underestimated. Like, she was strategic in her own right, and a lot of people were able to relate to her because she was down to earth and she was very real. Like, she wasn't afraid to share her past, and you know, you have to respect that she was so open and honest about what she's went through. And I think that's how she was able to form alliances and build relationships. But the thing of it was, and I feel like she could still use this to her advantage, is that she was underestimated. Like, a lot of people underestimated Carolyn, and they didn't notice until like the very end that, oh, she's the one actually coming up with all these moves, and she's like Survivor genius out there. So I definitely think Carolyn's definitely going to be on the list, whether she wants to come back or not, because it's not even for sure. Like, we might want these people to come back, but they might say they don't want to come back to Survivor. But yeah, those are specifically who I picked. It was very hard because there's a lot of people. I did notice most of the people that I picked, majority of them have only played once before. I only picked a few people that have played again, just because it's like you've seen how many people play again and again and again and again. So it's nice to see some people get like a second chance, but then still you gotta have, we don't know what they're going to be doing for 50. If it's going to be, it's definitely not going to be another winter season, I don't think. But we don't know if it's going to be like another second chance season, if it's just going to be legends and you get to pick whoever, or if this is going to be the official list like we choose now, you know, and Mike Bloom sends this to Jeff. I don't know, but I think it's whoever we pick is definitely going to be under consideration. So I'm taking this seriously. So comment down below what you thought of my picks, or what your picks are based off of Mike Bloom and Rob has a podcast who they compiled together. Yeah, I'm excited for Survivor 50. I wish we could just skip the next 3 seasons and go right to 50. Hope you guys enjoyed my little survivor video, and until next time, stay regal.